I'm just going to experiment with something just now. Now, basically, whenever anybody sends me Mad Lads that I should look into and Mad Lads that people would like to see videos on, sometimes when I go in and do my research into them, I realise that their entire story can be summed up in about 3 or 5 minutes. So there's not enough there to really make a full length, episode of Absolute Mad Lads. So these guys usually just get sat in a little pile at the side and forgotten about. And I think that's a shame because some of these guys definitely are mad lads. There's just not enough there to make a full proper episode. So what I have decided to do instead is combine, maybe about 3 or 4 of these mad lads into just one big video. So you still get a full length episode of Absolute Mad Lads. You just get 3 or 4 Mad Lads per episode. And I have decided to call it Absolute Mad Lads Minis. Absolute Mini Lads. Mini Absolute Mad Lads. Absolute Mad Lads Minis. I'm an imaginative fuck. So these episodes are going to contain about 3 or 4 of these mad lads whose events are very mad, but their stories are very short. So here we go. Here is episode 1, which is just a complete fucking mishmash of mad lads that I chose completely at random. Going forward, I should probably stick with a theme for each episode, but this is brand new. I'll do it on the job. Here we go. But before we get into the mini Mad Lad, a big thank you to the sponsor of this video, NordVPN, who I enjoy very much because they are very pro freedom of speech and very anti-censorship. NordVPN has over 5,500 super fast servers in 60 countries, 24/7 customer support, it protects your data while using public Wi-Fi, it has double data encryption for increased anonymity, unlimited bandwidth and a 30-day money-back guarantee. All of these amazing things are why NordVPN was awarded Best VPN in the 2019 and 2020 Best VPN Awards. You can use it to keep your personal data safe while browsing online or to access things you usually couldn't in your country, for example the USA's better Netflix selection, or things that your authoritarian government doesn't want you to see. I mean, it literally says, works even in China, wink wink nudge nudge. And right now you can get NordVPN at 70% off plus an additional month free if you click my link below, nordvpn.com/Dankula. That's nordvpn.com/Dankula and use code Dankula. Habibi, please, click the link. First up, we have a man named Andrew Shannon, who in 2012 was attending the National Gallery in Dublin, Ireland, because he was shall we say, a little bit of an art enthusiast. Shannon wandered the gallery looking at all of the paintings until he found himself standing in front of a particular painting, Argentine Basin with a single sailboat, painted by none other than Monet. Suddenly, according to Shannon, he felt like he was having a heart attack, and out of everywhere he could have fallen, he unfortunately fell in the direction of the painting, and unfortunately, in what many people believe to be unusual behaviour for someone having a heart attack, as he was falling, he swung a punch at the painting, putting his hand right through the fucking canvas. Which was a little bit of a shame because the painting at the time was valued at £8 million. And because of the extreme value of the painting, the National Gallery called the police, who arrived on the scene and interviewed Shannon. And Shannon said to them, "Look boys, I thought I was having a heart attack. Clearly I'm fine now. But at the time, I thought I was having a heart attack and I was losing my balance. And so in order to regain my balance, as I was falling, I swung a punch at the painting, because that makes sense. Whenever you feel yourself losing your balance and you're about to fall over, you don't just sort of try and, cushion your blow on the ground or reach out and grab something. Instead, you punch something. So there you go. If you ever feel yourself falling over, punch the nearest thing to you, even if it's a person. The police, however, did not believe this version of events, and they decided to do a little bit of investigating. And after the police's investigation, they looked into Shannon's history and discovered that he actually had quite a long history of criminal activity involving art and other antiquities, crimes that he had been caught and sentenced for on many occasions. And because this painting was currently under the care of the National Gallery, state-run, the police believe that Shannon came to this gallery, pretended to have a heart attack, punched the painting. Basically, he thought he was going to absolve himself of any wrongdoing, and the gallery would have to cover the cost. You know, the state would have to cover the cost of the painting. So the police theorised that Shannon did this as a way to get back at the state for all of his previous arrests and convictions. And what cemented this theory even further is when the paramedics came to check Shannon, they found no evidence whatsoever of a heart attack, and also when the police searched Shannon, they found a bottle of paint stripper in his pocket. You know, it's a pretty weird thing to bring to an art gallery. After Shannon was arrested, the police decided to go and search his house, and upon searching his house, they discovered very, very many paintings, artworks, antiques, and other antiquities, all of which were stolen and valued at more than 100,000 euros. Shannon was sentenced to 6 years in prison. The next mad lad is someone that I actually identify with on a very deep and personal level. We've all had shitty jobs. All of us. We've all had fucking shitty jobs. I've worked in so many fucking call centres, and I did a 6-year sentence in Tesco, right? We've all worked really shitty jobs. But what can make a shitty job even shittier is a shitty boss. And I've had my fucking fair share of shitty bosses. Even if a job is a fucking great job, a shitty boss can make that into a shitty job. I could even have a job as a cat girl pussy tester. If my boss is shitty, I'm probably going to quit. But see, when you quit jobs like that, one where you have just an absolute scumbag of a boss, oh, the feeling of doing something like that is fucking fantastic. I remember in one job I was in, I had an absolute cunt wagon of a boss, and what I decided to do, I knew I was leaving, he didn't. I decided to take all of the overtime for the following week, and he was like, oh fuck yeah, it's about time you started pulling your weight round here, you fucking prick. And then the day before that week was due to start, when I had all of the overtime, I walked into his office and handed him my immediate resignation. Bye-bye. Oh, he was so mad. He was so fucking mad. He was walking behind me, cussing me to high heaven as I walked out the building. That look of just absolute fucking rage on his face. A rage like no other. It was the type of rage that, because it was so extreme, that because he knew that there was no way he could get back at me now. I'd quit. I was gone. What was he going to do? Write me up? Fire me? I quit. And that was what made him so angry. He realised that there was nothing he could do. I got the best of him, and there was nothing he could do about it. And now and again, when I feel like I need cheering up, I just think back at that look on his face. Lovely. And to all of the Coatbridge Tesco managers who for 6 years constantly gave me shit for my piercings and tattoos and actually made fun of my appearance to other managers behind my back. See, this is the part where I would usually flex on you. I just think it's a little bit unfair to flex on a Tesco manager. We got very off track there. I've just worked a lot of shitty jobs and had a lot of shitty bosses. But to get back on point, the next mad lad is a man called Joey DeFrancesco, who for 3 years had worked in a job in a hotel, and he absolutely fucking hated it, and he absolutely fucking hated his bosses. His boss hated him, and he hated his boss. And Joey would very often fantasize about what it would be like to quit to his boss's face in spectacular fashion, and then one day, Joey got the balls to actually do it. So he prepared his resignation letter, and then he snuck his friend's band into the hotel. And what happened next was just fucking spectacular.
Guys, what is this? Guys, all of you out right now.
Jared, I'm here to tell you that I'm quitting.
What? Get, go!
Can you imagine how fucking satisfying that must have felt? I feel satisfied just watching it. This actually reminds me of another similar story. I was only going to do 3 mad lads in this video, but you know what, fuck it, you can have 4. It was a man called Stephen Slater, who was a flight attendant for JetBlue, and his story started when the plane he was working on had just landed and was taxiing off the runway, and one of the passengers had gotten up while the plane was taxiing and was trying to take her luggage out of the overhead when she was supposed to remain in her seat. According to Stephen, he approached the woman and told her that she couldn't do that because the plane was still taxiing, so she would have to put her luggage back and retake her seat. The woman then apparently yelled a bunch of expletives at Stephen and then hit him with one of her bags. Stephen then walks up to the plane's broadcast system, you know, the thing they use to give announcements to the passengers, and he decides to deliver his own little broadcast, which I believe went something like, "Fuck every single one of you, fuck this plane, fuck the passengers, fuck this job. I've been in this business for 20 fucking years. I'm fucking done. Fuck you." Of course, I'm paraphrasing. He then grabs 2 beers from the plane's fridge, opens the plane's door, deploys the plane's emergency evacuation slide, and then jumps down the slide, drinking both of the beers like Stone Cold Steve Austin. This method of quitting, although fucking funny, unfortunately was illegal, and Stephen was arrested and charged with criminal mischief and reckless endangerment, but he accepted a plea deal, so he was only sentenced to community service and probation. And now we're on to the last mini mad lad of Absolute Mad Lad Minis Mad Lad episode 1 minis. A man named Mark Goddard, who for 16 years had suffered constant chronic pain in his hand due to nerve damage that he sustained in a motorcycle accident that he was in 1998. The pain was excruciating, and it was 24 hours a day. He couldn't function properly, he couldn't sleep, it was constantly nagging at him, and it was severely affecting his mental health. But anytime he went to the doctors, they would just give him a fuck ton of painkillers and send him to a shrink. They weren't really offering any permanent solutions to actually fix his problem. Being in constant pain for 16 years had such a severe mental effect on Goddard that one day he just turned around and asked the doctors to amputate his hand. He just says, just take the thing right fucking off and it will solve all of my fucking problems. But sadly, the doctors refused. Boy, I wonder what happened next in this episode of Absolute Mad Lads, where we have a long history of talking about absolutely mad lads, or women, doing absolutely mad things. Boy oh boy, I wonder what this man did when he wanted his hand cut off, but the doctors wouldn't do it for him. Don't worry boys, I'm not going to spoil the surprise. Goddard then started building a homemade guillotine in his back garden that was made of springs, levers, an old fence post and a big fucking axe. And it was designed so that when the machine was triggered, the axe would come flying down and would chop Goddard's hand right off. So when the day finally came, Mark Goddard made sure that none of his family were around. He made a point of sending them out on errands and making sure that all of them were out of the house so that he could have some privacy. You know, men like to have a little bit of alone time to do things like go out into the back garden, put your arm in a fucking guillotine, pull the lever, and watch that axe come right the fuck down. Which is exactly what Goddard did. But there was just one small problem. The axe wasn't exactly properly on target, so it only took his hand off 3/4 of the way, and he had to do the rest himself with a knife. There is just one little problem left now. Mark Goddard obviously has just chopped his own fucking hand off, and he's obviously going to need medical attention. But he knows that as soon as he goes to the hospital, they're just going to sew the hand back on. But Goddard is a smart cookie. You know, by self-mutilation standards. And he knew that they were going to do that. So he planned ahead. So before he chopped his hand off, he made sure he had a little pit fire in his back garden. And as soon as he got the hand fully off, he threw it in the fire and cremated it. To make sure that the doctors wouldn't be able to stitch it back on. He really fucking hated that hand. By the time Goddard got to hospital, he'd already lost 2 pints of blood, but the doctors managed to sew the wound up, stop the blood loss, and Mark Goddard was absolutely fine. As fine as he could be under the circumstances. They obviously couldn't reattach the hand because it's a pile of fucking ashes. So Mark Goddard had done what he set out to do. Something I don't feel I would have been able to do. He managed to chop his own fucking hand off and throw it in a fucking fire. All of this to stop the constant chronic pain that he had been in for 16 years. But there was just one little problem. It didn't stop the pain at all. It turns out that the source of his chronic pain was due to nerve damage, not just in his hand. His hand obviously, you know, felt pain too. It's just that hands are a lot more sensitive than the rest of the arm. It turns out that it's his whole fucking arm. So the pain pretty much didn't change at all. In fact, he now felt like he was in more pain from chopping his hand off. So Mark Goddard has delivered an ultimatum to the NHS. He has asked them to cut off the rest of his arm up to the elbow, and he said that if they don't do it, he's going to do it himself. And the thing is, that's not an idle threat, you know. We know the man will fucking do it, but since that time, I haven't seen any mention of him in the papers. I couldn't find anything online, so either the NHS amputated his arm, or he just accepted it. You know, hopefully we won't hear from him again. You know? Hopefully not. Okay, so that's the end of episode 1 of this experiment. I just feel that this is a good method to get the Mad Lads whose stories aren't long enough for a main feature-length episode of Mad Lads. You know, it's a good place to put them and to make sure these guys' stories are still being told. You know, this is a little spin-off to the main Absolute Mad Lads. You know, this is the side bitch to Absolute Mad Lads. You know, this first episode was just a mishmash. You know, it could be anything. It could be guys quitting their job and self-mutilating, or it could be warlords or soldiers from wars and stuff like that. You know, it could be anything. It's going to be like Mad Lads. It can be anyone. The only rule is they have to be mad. So if you enjoyed this new side series of Mad Lads, this series could be considered Mad Lads Side Bitch, then you can like this video and subscribe to my channel and leave a comment down below giving me suggestions for mini Mad Lads. You can tell me what you thought of the video. You could tell me the size of your penis. You could tell me your deepest, darkest hopes, fears and desires. You could even tell me your mum's phone number and I can tell her the size of my penis. Okay, mini Mad Lads, episode 1. Is it a go? Is it a no? Let me know. Now fuck off. Also, go and subscribe to my second channel. Like, I upload on there actually quite regularly, you know, like a couple times a week. And I've also started streaming games on there as well. You know, a lot of people don't actually know that I've got a second channel. So yeah, go and subscribe to that.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe. Yeah.